wonderful people, and welcome back to my YouTube channel English Made Easy with Divya. Today we are going to discuss an interesting topic and the one that you always wanted to know. How to improve your communication skills, or basically how to be an effective English speaker. So today we are going to discuss a few tips and techniques to speak English effectively. First of all, before we begin with the communication skills, we need to know what exactly is meant by communication. So communication is a two-way process which includes and involves a speaker and a listener. Now this word communication comes from the word commune. What do we exactly mean by commune? So commune means to share your feelings, to share your ideas, to share your opinions, and to share your thoughts with the other person. So now, basically when you are sharing, we have to understand to speak or to communicate effectively, there are few tips and they are as follows. So the first one is you have to be an active listener. If you check the spelling of this particular word, listen. If you reverse it, it is nothing but silent. So the key lies in the word itself. If you really want to communicate effectively, you need to be an active listener. Active listener, a person who is silent, who sits patiently, silently and understands what the other person exactly is trying to tell you. It is only when you understand what the other person is trying to tell you, you'll be able to respond and communicate effectively. The second and the important thing is be precise. Now, there are many people, I'm sure you must have come across so many incidences in your life wherein people from different backgrounds come and meet and they just want to share their thoughts and experiences. When you are discussing something, people actually do not even realize that they are deviating from the topic. They talk about their past, they talk about certain things which are even not relevant to the point. And as a result of which, they just keep lingering and beating around the bush without coming straight to the point. And that is the time when the interest of the listener is lost and the effective communication does not take place. So to be an effective communicator, you need to be precise and to the point when you are trying to communicate. The third tip is know your audience. Now, when you're talking to any person, you need to identify what type of audience you're dealing with. Whether you're trying to talk to a person who is really literate, educated, or you're trying to deal with a teenager, or you're trying to deal with somebody who is contemporary, or you're trying to talk to someone who is a child. You need to go down to the level of that particular person and then speak. Using flowery language or using certain words which are not known to the person will not help you to be a speaker or an effective communicator. The most important thing is when you know your audience, you know what their interest is, right? You need to make your communication, you need to make your conversation interesting. You need to keep your audience engaged. Let me tell you an incident or let me give you a small example. If suddenly you come across a person who happens to tell you that you have suddenly won a jackpot or a lucky draw, suddenly everybody starts paying attention to how exactly you will get the lucky draw money, or maybe what are the steps to be followed to win that particular prize or the amount. But on the contrary, if certain payment has to be made or it is some routine or mundane work which needs to be done, we do not listen patiently. So you need to identify the interest of the audience to keep the audience engaged, and then the effective communication takes place. The next tip is being empathetic. Now, first of all, I know there are many people who are not really good when it comes to speaking English. So first of all, let me tell you the meaning of the word empathy. Empathy comes from the word path, which is feelings or emotions. So right now we were talking about sharing your feelings and opinion, right? So when you are trying to communicate, you need to empathize with the person who is speaking. The person who is speaking, if you understand his feelings, his emotions, you will be able to correlate and connect. That connect, that bond is very important to have a perfect communication. If there is no connect, there is no bond, there is no active and effective communication taking place. So the most important thing is knowing your audience and developing that interest in them, and at the same time being empathetic, generating those feelings, sharing and experiencing those feelings with your target audience. The next step is being confident. Now, confidence does not mean that I need to know, farratedar English. Being confident means I just should be able to stand in front of people and express my thoughts and ideas. For that, in the beginning, maybe we'll not know the words that are needed to be used. Maybe we will fumble. Maybe we will feel inconfident because of poor construction of sentences and words. But that is okay. The confidence lies in thinking and believing that I can and I will. So when you think that you can and you will, your journey begins right there. Forget about what people think about you. Forget about who is listening to you. Everybody was once a speaker, once a learner. The person who was speaking initially was always a learner. So you just have to feel confident that you can and you will, and you surely will climb that ladder of success and be able to communicate effectively. So be confident of whatever you say and frame simple sentences to begin initially. The next thing is being receptive. Now, when you say that you have to be receptive, is you need to respond to the person. But when you are responding, the most important thing is, have you understood? Have you understood what the person is exactly trying to tell you? So when you are receptive, which means you need to be active, you need to be in the moment, you need to be in the present, you need to be a part of the conversation. So when you are receptive, it means you are a part of the conversation and then you are ready to respond. You will be able to respond only when you have comprehended what the person has said. Now the word that I use is comprehend. What do you mean by comprehend? To understand what the other person is speaking. The next step is mind your tone and volume. Now when we are speaking, you need to understand the situation and the circumstances in which you are speaking. When you speak, you can't directly start shouting or screaming, right? You need to understand, you need to be respectful. Nobody likes to be scolded, nobody likes to be spoken in a harsh manner. So you need to be very polite, very soft spoken when you are communicating. The tone that you're talking in, there has to be proper voice modulation. If I talk in a very monotonous voice, just like a robot, the other person will maybe lose interest. The person would feel as if he or she is speaking to a machine. So it is very important that you put in your feelings, you put in your thoughts and ideas in a very subtle, polite and respectful manner. So receptive is you need to understand the person and then respond. Receptive is understanding and responding in the right manner. The next step is using appropriate grammar. Now, when I talk about appropriate grammar, people always tend to frame sentences which are too complex. The basic tip to speak English fluently or to be an effective communicator is framing small sentences, simple sentences. We do not have to unnecessarily try and frame or build compound and complex sentences. Keep your sentences short, simple, having the doer, that is the subject, the verb, and the receiver, which is the object. Have simple sentences so that the other person understands it effectively and properly. The next thing is choosing your words wisely. Now this is very important. Many a times it so happens whenever we are talking or speaking, we fail to understand the impact of our words on the other person. So whenever you choose your words, you need to be really wise in choosing the words. Now, what do I mean by choosing your words wisely? They shouldn't be disrespectful. They shouldn't hurt the feelings of other person. They should be easily understood by the other person. Using abbreviations or short forms which are not known to people might sound disrespectful to the other person, because depending on the cultures or backgrounds the other people come from, we do not know what a particular word means to them. So it is very important that we communicate in a way which is familiar to the other person, because the basic idea of communicating is reaching out to the other person. So you can reach out to the other person using words which the other person understands. So this is one very important thing. I'll give you a very simple example. Nowadays, the young generation comes up with so many different words that maybe the older generation might not know. For example, if I say FYI, so the other generation might not understand what that FYI actually refers to unless and until it is a standard abbreviation for something. So FYI basically is for your information, but maybe not everybody knows it. So it's always important in communication to use words and sentences or abbreviations which are understood by the other person. And if not, it's important that you elaborate what exactly you need to say. The last and the most important tip is know your body language. When we talk about body language, it forms a part of your non-verbal communication. Communication involves two things, verbal and non-verbal. All the things that we discussed so far in the video were a part of your verbal communication. Non-verbal communication includes your body language, the posture in which you sit, the gestures, the movements of your hands, the facial expressions while talking, when you are upset, the eyes, the way your eyes speak, they're very expressive, right? The smile on your face, the frown on your face. So these things tell a lot about your feelings, the things that you wish to share. So even if you don't utter a word, the other person sitting right in front of you, the listener, definitely understands. So you don't have to say that you are unhappy or you didn't like something. Your facial expressions say it all. So that is nothing but your non-verbal communication or your body language. And this plays a very important role in communication. So this body language has to be really positive and assertive. To know more about body language, we will have another video on non-verbal communication. For today, I think you all have understood the different tips and techniques, and I'm sure you will use them on a day-to-day basis. So stay tuned for my upcoming video on non-verbal communication and much more. If you haven't already, please click on the subscription button and do not forget to turn on the notification bell. I will see you in the next video. Till then, stay tuned and bye-bye.